All right, everyone. At first, I wasn't even going to talk about the Space Force stuff because I'm 75% opposed to it on libertarian principles and pragmatic principles. There's 25% of me, the sci-fi fan sort of part of me, that's like, wow, it would be kind of cool to have like space marines and stuff. We could develop literal power armor. We could put a whole armada up there and go and conquest the rest of the solar system. Then again, I think some aliens might come and eradicate us because they're like, well, those humans, they'll breed out of control and eventually contaminate the whole universe. They'll go viral because they are a blight, a virus, and so we got to take care of this now. Let's just set off a massive, a 1 million megaton nuclear device on their homeworld. That'll take care of the problem. Here's the thing, though. There are two reasons I'm largely opposed to this. Number one, in order to have a military force in space, unless you wish to drain resources away from Earth, you need to be gathering resources from space. That means you could mine asteroids. You could have like a community up on Mars or the moon. The basic concept is terraforming. Yes, because we know it had running water, it has degraded soils, technically arable land, as long as you established a point on Mars that was part of that arability, not on a giant rock or something. As long as you covered it over with glass and you had a decently stable internal temperature and stuff, yeah, you could use solar cells to get all of your energy quite easily. You could have a colony up there. You could have thousands and thousands of acres, really, of crops if you wanted. Plus, you could mine stone for resources. Everything could be solar powered. It might, be less efficient overall than an oil-based economy. But if you're using something renewable, you could harness infinite amounts of electricity almost and do the same thing. You could even mine your own silica to make more panels. You could have a solar panel factory run by solar panels. It'd be quite surreal. But you could automate it all. Robots could exist up on Mars for extended periods. We're developing basically third generation robotics at this point. And so it's a little bit different. Again, you need a productive economy up there. Otherwise, though, you're draining resources away from just the U.S. on Earth. It's not even the whole Earth that would be sustaining these colonies and bases or platforms, whatever you're building. An armada of UFOs. You'd have to have money and resources diverted from the U.S. economy to do that. So on a libertarian principle, I say no, not unless we have the sustainable budget to do so, because we've already got commercial endeavors within space. Mining asteroids, you capture one decent asteroid, you make $100 billion trading it with the rest of the world, breaking it down into it's based, well, this one is 95% pure nickel. Nickel's kind of valuable, yeah, and it weighs like, 500 tons? As long as we can get it to survive re-entry and not explode in the sky and therefore cause, a catastrophic 200 megaton explosion, yeah, it'll be all good, we'll be sitting pretty. It's a pretty good chunk of money. We need to focus on the commercial aspect of space. As far as developing a space force as well, you got to understand the other component of it. Would this not antagonize other countries to do the same, leading to China and Russia, and maybe the EU, attempting to create space forces? Look, we've already got an arms race. The world has already slipped back into the Cold War. Although things are improving with Korea, and they improved like with Cuba and stuff, and they might improve at any point with Venezuela, because someone might assassinate Maduro, and it would be wonderful if they did. Relations between the main nuclear states in the world still remain somewhat choppy. I don't think now is the best time to engage in this particular kind of endeavor. It would be much better to pump more money into NASA. One of the endeavors that we've put money in that has paid off many times over. Giving NASA a good budget, yes. Okay, the libertarian in me can accept that because there's almost always a return. Okay, so it's almost capitalistic. It's zero, so yes, we pay some taxpayer money. The development of technology through NASA alone has paid dividends well in excess of anything we've ever paid for, and now we have private firms to absorb some of the cost anyway, so it's a little bit cheaper than it was in the past. Commercial endeavors and technological endeavors and scientific endeavors in general for knowledge's sake only, those are all very good. We should budget for those. But the military in space, what are you going to use for a weapon? Are you going to use standard munitions in space? Not going to work so well. I had an idea whereby you would have a barbed harpoon with a rocket on it, and it would sort of suction to the side of an enemy vessel like an alien's vessel, and then clasp onto it, burrow itself in, and then explode. That could work. The thing is, standard munitions that simply use the force of momentum aren't going to be much use in a vacuum. Thud, that bullet just bounces right off of whatever it's aimed at. It's not going to do anything. It's going to be worthless. You either need some sort of missile that can grab the enemy ship and burrow into it like a fucking mole, or you're going to need energy weapons that might be ineffective against ships designed to repel energy weapons. Probably the burrowing idea is presumably better. It'd still be a solid munition, oddly enough. Or poison, something like that. Radioactivity alone. Some massive directed radioactivity weapon. Okay, well, deploy gamma gun in space. Be like, literally, it'd be like a fucking sci-fi freak show. Now, that sounds really cool, and it is cool, and it'd be so great. If we can develop a budget in space, and make a bunch of money, then, yeah, okay, maybe we can divert some more resources and have our space marines. Who are we going to fight with them, though? No one else is in space trying to fight us, so it's sort of, it's like positioning your military on a deserted island. The enemy's not there. They're 1,000 miles away. Well, what are we doing? I don't know. Drink some more rum, eat another coconut, I guess. There's nothing else to do for the situation. It would be an expenditure of money that at this time would not be wise. Much as I like Newt Gingrich's idea of putting a colony on the moon, though. Ironically, it makes more sense. Yeah, we can colonize the moon. We've already got the tech. We had the technology to make a temporary colony on the moon or Mars in the 80s and 90s. What about now when we have advanced computing and robotics and new alloys and new everything? Be easy. New energy production. Batteries. That's one of the biggest problems with trying to have a space colony is you're going to be relying on batteries for some time. Now, they could literally, the Chinese are doing this for houses. You could literally develop modules that would 3D print your base for you ahead of time. It would be all automated and robotic. It could set itself up, fill itself with an atmosphere, deploy its own energy grid and everything else. It could even plant the crops on its own. Then the humans move in. It could even build its own landing pad so you don't have to land in the middle of a crater and hike 2 miles across a frozen landscape of hell. Wouldn't that be great? We can do that. Yeah. Build a rocket bigger than any other rocket ever made and put your 3D printed prefabricated base up there. Yeah, we could do that. It could even mine out materials that it needed. It's not like there aren't rare earth minerals and everything else on Mars. Mars is full of metal. It's full of minerals. It even had running water at one point. Yes, you could grow crops there. You just have to have an interior space that's temperature stable and obviously irrigated, but the water's there. Drill into those ice caps. You can melt out the water. You can create a self-sustaining system, a nice little reservoir, artificial atmosphere and everything. And over time, you're venting atmosphere out. Maybe it'll even restore the Martian atmosphere a little bit. Although the fact that they detect transient methane up on Mars, and it's periodic, like it has to do apparently with weather cycles. Unless it's the erosion of certain, minerals, I'll hazard a guess, there are bacteria on Mars. I don't think that you can expect them to tell us that, though, ahead of time. They're just never going to build a colony there because they're like, if we get infected with some super disease from Mars, we won't have any immunity. We'll probably end up wiping out the whole human race. I don't think it's a good idea. And it's possible. Have you ever heard of the concept of germs from space? Like when the first astronauts walked on the moon, when they came back, they immediately put them in a sealed capsule for like a week. Put them in quarantine. They're like, there could be diseases out there. I agree with this theory. I think that there is the possibility that bacteria and viruses occasionally can come from the cosmos. Tardigrades can survive out there. Moss and weird shit contaminating the surface of the International Space Station survives in the vacuum of space, literally on the windows and shit. There are bacteria on the International Space Station. By the way, we probably seeded the moon and Mars with life anyway by sending robots and shit up. We've probably dropped life off inadvertently anyway because not everything can be 100% sterile. As it's going up through the atmosphere and about to leave, there's pollen. There's bacteria. They can send up high-altitude balloons with scrubbers and they find all sorts of life forms in the upper atmosphere. We've probably contaminated Mars with life anyway. By the way, if they ever tell us there's life on Mars, they're going to mention that in hopes of allaying the fears of the religious crowd. Guarantee it. That's about all. Peace out.